Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast. My name is Sam. I'm your show host over here, and thank you guys for tuning in to episode 208, Idaho Elk 2024. For some of you, you guys have been waiting a little bit for this podcast, and if you've been listening to the show, really from episode 200 on or so, you've undoubtedly heard me talk about this elk hunting experience that I was preparing for and wanting to go on, looking forward to, all that kind of stuff. In the mountains in Idaho, a pack trip going back in 25 miles back on horseback and hunting with a bow in an area that very few people have been to in recent years. So it was an epic trip. It made for an incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience. And we get to record a podcast from Elk Camp, and that's what you guys are about to listen to, which is really, really cool that we're able to produce content in the field like this that we can go back and reflect on, listen to, our kids can tune into it, our grandkids, etc. over the years to come, and relive these experiences with us. I think that's something really cool that Fall Obsession is able to do, not just for you guys, our listeners, but it's also a benefit to those of us that produce this content. And I encourage anybody in today's day and age that has the opportunity to pull out a phone or a camera, whatever it might be, and film these memorable experiences with your family, with your kids, with your friends, whatever it might be, to do it. Even if you don't have a platform that you post it on, this is a very awesome tool that we have with today's technology to be able to do that. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for these guys that I got to spend a week in Idaho with. They definitely pulled more than their fair share of weight to help me get through this week, because it was a little rough on this flatlander from Texas. The first couple 2-3 days I was fighting some what seemed like some altitude related sickness that was kind of dragging me down. I was still trying to get out there every day and hunt and participate, but I was struggling. These guys would tell you that I was definitely struggling. And then I also have some thoughts and everything on the gear that I took and what I could have done better there, and I'll share those with you guys at another time. But my feet were toast by the end of the week, and everything just did not have a few items that could have been more beneficial from a gear standpoint that also made it more challenging for me. But neither here nor there. This was an incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience for me to get to do something like this, to get to hunt in an environment like this, to chase elk in the mountains at 8,000 feet. Just absolutely mind-blowing experience. And Galen, Chris, Ben, the other 3 guys in camp with me, thank you guys so much for everything you did for me and for one another, for the hunt. Just it all came together, and everybody chipped in to make everything happen and go as smoothly as possible. I saw that firsthand. I can't thank you guys enough. I got to thank Galen and the Barnett family for the invite to come up there, and all the work that goes into putting together a pack trip like this. Just absolute seamlessness is how it seemed, as far as him knowing exactly what needed to happen and how everything came together. So thank you for your hospitality, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you getting me up there with you guys and letting me experience this. And then also just to my wife and my family for helping facilitate this happening from the homestead standpoint and back at the house and everything. Thank y'all. Again, just an incredible experience that I wouldn't have gotten to do without everybody I just mentioned. So I'm very grateful for it. This podcast that you guys are about to hear, it is from Elk Camp. The audio is not the normal studio standard that we have here at Fall Obsession, so please keep that in mind as you listen. It's a little bit of a shorter episode, but again, it's one of those opportunities that we had to sit down in camp and actually record this fresh on the hunt on one of the last evenings and everything, sitting around a campfire and just kind of reflect on everything that had happened so far and go through it together. So really looking forward to you guys getting to hear this conversation. And then I am probably going to follow this podcast up with another episode now that I'm back in Texas, with a little bit more detailed reflection on this trip and this opportunity. So you guys be looking out for that in the coming weeks. So before we take you guys to Elk Camp for this episode, y'all know the drill. I got to give a shout out to some partners here at Fall Obsession Podcast that keep the wheels rolling. First one being Hoot Camo. I wore Hoot Camo up in the mountains in Idaho. Really, I felt like got to go through kind of the arsenal of their gear to a certain extent. A little bit more just with the temperature swings and everything that we had up there. Got to wear some lightweight stuff, some heavyweight stuff, and anywhere in between. So can't say enough about the Hoot gear. Once again, the patterns just blow my mind as to how versatile they are and how much they adapt to different environments and everything. I love my Hoot gear. I stand by it. And if you guys want to check it out or pick you up some, go to hootcamo.com and use the code FallObsession15. That will save you some money at checkout. I do have a specific partner that I want to shout out for this episode in particular. They are not an exclusive podcast sponsor, but they are a gear partner of us here at Fall Obsession, and that is Dark Energy. We had a bunch of Dark Energy gear up in the mountains with us on this hunt. They actually specifically sent us a bunch of stuff for this hunt and future hunts that we have coming up this year with our staff. Can't thank them enough for getting us squared away with portable power for our devices, our cameras, and all that kind of stuff that we are rocking up there in the mountains or any hunting camp that we go to. If you guys are looking for a tested and built to last portable power bank for your phone, a small solar panel that can charge small devices and small batteries, whatever it might be, you got to go to Dark Energy and check out what they have. And if you use the code FALLOBSESSION, that's all lowercase with a space in between fall and obsession, use that code at checkout. That will save you guys some money. Go check out Dark Energy. News on Safaris is a Fall Obsession Podcast partner. We have had multiple people that are either on our team or outside of our team that we know that have hunted with News On and have had a great experience. If you guys are looking to book that big African safari you've been anticipating, you need to do it with News On. What's even better is that News On is offering Fall Obsession Podcast listeners a discount, some big savings on their next trip if you just tell them that Fall Obsession sent you. Those savings specifically are a $500 trophy credit, your food, lodging, and drinks is all covered, your professional hunter, skinner, and tracker fees are covered, and your basic trophy prep will be taken care of. That's a $2,250 value per hunter, and that's valid for up to 4 people in your hunting party. Do the quick math on that. You could be saving $9,000 on your already expensive trip, no matter how you look at it. So book that next safari with News On. Tell them that Fall Obsession sent you. That way you get the deal. You can give Tim a call. His number's 303-946-9441. Again, that's Tim, and he will get you set up with News On Safaris. Elite Archery is a Fall Obsession partner. Been shooting an elite bow for several seasons. Had it up in the mountains in Idaho and have hunted with it in Colorado, Texas, bunch of different environments, bunch of different situations. Can't say enough about it. It is a very comfortable, very shootable bow, one of the most shootable bows on the market in my opinion, and that's how Elite promotes their products as well, and encourages you guys to go take the Elite Shootability Challenge at your local dealer. Put one in your hand, compare it to other bows, see what you think. Let the results speak for themselves, and you won't be disappointed. Go take the Elite Shootability Challenge. Trophy Edits is a Fall Obsession partner. I'm sure we've all had those pictures over the years or maybe even this season already where you had a memorable moment, killed a big deer, whatever it might be, and the picture just wasn't what you were hoping it would be. It doesn't quite reflect the magnitude of the moment. Well, what Trophy Edits does is they clean those pictures up, whether it's low lighting or blurry or something out of focus, whatever it might be. They do everything that they can to doctor those photos up naturally to make them capitalize your memory and your moment to the best of their ability. So you guys can go to the link in the description on this podcast episode. Click on that. That'll let Trophy Edits know that you guys came from us, and shop around there and see what Trophy Edits can do for you. The Outdoor Call Radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. Fall Obsession Podcast plays on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publication, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. Go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It's free. You can start streaming immediately, and make sure that you follow Outdoors Dan on social media, because he does a couple of different live radio show broadcasts in the Midwest a couple different times a week. And even if you're not local to those radio stations, he shares the broadcast on his social media. So the Outdoor Call Radio app and Outdoors Dan, go check him out. Last but not least, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is a podcast partner. Derek Eves is the man over there in Mississippi. He's got a large network through Ridge Rock of vetted and trusted outfitters in North America. So if you're looking to book that next North American adventure, you need to give Derek a call. He'll work with you on all the details and find something that's exactly right for you. Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check him out. Finally, thank you guys again for tuning into this podcast. Whatever podcast platform you are streaming on, be sure that you hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever they have up there for you. Make sure that you turn on your notifications if that's an option. That way you know every time we drop a new episode. Head on over to the YouTube channel. Check us out on there. And if you like watching the podcast videos instead of just listening to the audio, you can find those podcast videos on our YouTube. Be sure you subscribe over there as well. While you're at it, go to fallobsession.com. That's our website. That's the hub. Everything filters through there. You can catch all of our different varieties of content. We have some great educational articles on our website right now for whitetail hunting and everything, with deer season coming in right now. Some of our experienced staff across the country have been doing a great job at putting those together. So be sure you head on over to fallobsession.com, pick you up a hat or a shirt while you're there if you're so inclined, support a small-time hunting brand. And check out our series that are streaming on Carbon TV. This podcast streams on Carbon, as well as our staff-inspired video podcast series, Couch Chats, and our two different hunting shows that we produce titled Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Go check those out on Carbon TV. We are on social media, anywhere that you have social media, so be sure you're following Fall Obsession as well. And remember to hit that share button and send this content to all your friends and hunting buddies. All right, with that, taking you guys out of the studio to the mountain to Elk Camp in Idaho. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
And there goes his hands. I don't know what to do with my hands. All right, we're in Elk Camp. Galen, Chris, and Ben. We're ending our trip. But to start us off, the guy that got us all here, like literally got us all here. How far back are we, Galen?
We're about 25 miles on horseback. 6-hour drive by pickup. The nearest real town, we're about 4 hours by pickup from there.
And why here?
So when I was looking to get Sam elk tag in here, we put him in for a draw for a unit that is amazing for elk in Idaho. It's everybody's coveted tag. He did draw that tag, so then we had to, Idaho has a tag system where you buy December 1st, the year before, but then people turn their tags back in, so then August 8th, you have an opportunity as an out-of-stater to purchase whatever tags are returned. And this was one of the only units that had any tags left August 8th to purchase.
Yeah.
So once Sam bought that tag, then I started doing some research, and my dad started doing some research as far as the best place to go. A buddy of mine told me about this spot. He's come in 3 different years, back in like around the 2012 era, and gotten some big bulls out of here. So that's kind of how we ended up back in this area.
Gotcha. So this is a long way back, and I think we can all agree that the horses are pretty impressive at this point, with not just getting us back here, but then also helping us navigate some terrain on the day-to-day. I think that's probably been the thing I've been most impressed about. The country's epic itself, but what your critters can do is pretty insane. I never thought I would have ridden horses in terrain like this.
It's every year I come out on those things, I'm honestly blown away. I've grown up. I've been doing this since I was 10 years old, so about the last 22 years. And I took a few years off, but every time I come out here with them, they blow my mind. And like the little quirks, and they irritate you or whatever here and there, but man, when at the end of the day, you can't do any of this without them. Like,
Yeah.
physically can't.
Yeah, it's crazy. Chris, what were your expectations coming out here? I know you've been out with Galen before.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect coming out to this area. Going out last year was a completely different area that we went to, so never really know what I'm getting myself into with Galen, but it's always fun and a good time, so I knew it would be great. So yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was really hopeful to get out into some elk and see some. So yeah, it's definitely an amazing area. It's phenomenal getting out into these wild areas where most people can't get, and to experience this wild wilderness.
I think that's one thing that's pretty crazy. The smoke's blowing in our face, but the like even the sign from previous people coming through here and cross-cutting their trails or whatever it might be, so old. It seems like, and this definitely feels like an area nobody has been in a long time, and it's pretty cool to be able to experience it. And I think the country's epic, but like today, and we'll get to the events of the trip, but like this little windstorm and this weather rolling through this evening, that kind of, I don't know, that made me a little nervous up there at one point up there on the top of the mountain.
Oh yeah,
hear trees falling all around you.
I know, and that's what's crazy is just the dead trees that are everywhere.
Yeah,
thousands of them. It's insane.
I pushed a couple of them, just pushed on it when I went by, and it didn't take nothing to push them over.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. You don't really think about it until there's wind howling through there, and then you think twice about where you're walking for sure. But Ben, you're out here too.
Yep. This was my first horse trip, so that was a fun thing to learn, and definitely got some saddle sores. But like you guys said, it was pretty impressive where they can go. You're riding behind someone, and sometimes you're seeing sparks coming off the horseshoes as they're going up rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
They're literally crawling up big boulder faces. There's not even dirt sometimes, and they dig in and just go up it.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful that the horse that I had was so awesome. He come up to a log and just ease right over. I was half expecting him to jump over the thing sometimes, and he never did, and so I was thankful for that. But it's definitely cool. Different terrain than what I'm used to. I'm used to the panhandle of Idaho that's, you're always beating the bushes, and here you can glass thousands of yards and just, try and pick animals out of the hillside.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a fun experience getting to cut open a trail so we can get through. And so, but yeah, first time on horses, first time in a wilderness area, and I think this is probably the first hunting trip I've never seen anybody else out here.
Yeah, not another soul in sight, that's for sure.
Definitely brings in the gravity of the whole situation of being prepared, having some medical stuff, having a way to call, emergency if you have to, because if somebody gets seriously hurt, you're a long ways back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Ben, for coming in last minute. It was going to be 3 of us, and I just didn't feel good about it being this far back in. So I know you've spent a lot of time in the woods, and you haven't done the horse camping, but you've done a lot of hunting and stuff. So gave Ben a call, and he was all about it. So.
Well, it's just interesting because I've never done it before, and so there's all these different things that you don't think about unless you do it, like bringing the feed in, bringing in a med kit for the horses because their hooves and their legs and stuff are getting beat up, and having a shoeing kit and being able to do that. I mean, it's a whole new dynamic of hunting that I've never had to cross before. So it's been a cool experience.
Yeah, it's to that point, a whole nother layer, because I don't know, just thinking I'm like, all right, we're gonna saddle horses and ride back into the mountains and go hunt, but no, we gotta obviously prep all the gear for the horses. You had to shoe
Two of them.
3 horses at the trailhead to get them ready to go in the first place, and then you got to be strategic with where you feed them and where you water them, especially riding all the way back in here. It's like all this stuff that just, obviously me coming from Texas, I just never thought of. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But so as far as the elk go, though, that's been a little bit different.
Yeah.
You scouted ahead of time and saw a herd in this area, which is what led us to this spot. But we've been seeing plenty of sign, but a lot of our hunts have, I don't know, been kind of confusing to all of us, including yourself, I know. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because it's a new area. The buddy that told us to come in here, he pinpointed on the map where to hunt. And what was crazy is we flew it a week ago when my dad was in here, and he wasn't able to make it all the way in because it's wilderness, obviously, so you got to run crosscut and stuff. So he cut most of the way in. We had about 1.5 miles off the main ridge that we had to drop down into camp. And so he did a lot of work for us to make it possible for us to even get in here. But he, when he was in here still, we flew over the exact area that my buddy pinpointed where the elk were. Turns out there was a whole herd there. There was 2 big bulls and about 12 cows, I think, 12 or 13 cows. And so we're like, wow, game on. We're dialed. Came in here and went up there the first day, and turns out there's no elk up there. And at least ways they weren't talking and stuff. We are a little later on the rut. But last year when we were in another area, it was October 10th instead of October 1st, and they were rutting hard still. So yeah, it's been a little bit interesting learning new country. You know, that you go where you expect the elk to be and expect them to be talking, and they're not. And it's been we've definitely worked for it.
Yeah, I know that's been one thing that I have been underprepared for, was just all the hiking and the getting around and everything. That my footwear situation definitely could have been better, and I know we talked about that earlier, but it's that's something that I didn't really appropriately prepare for, and would do different next time, or recommend to anybody wanting to do a trip like this, is invest in good boots that are built for this, because you're on your feet a lot.
Yeah, and you're almost no flat surfaces.
No, not at all. Like, this is truly steep and deep, I feel like, and it's no joke. You kept saying, you're like, it's gonna level out up here, mellow out. I'm like, where is it gonna mellow out, man? Come on.
That top of the rock is the mellow.
Yeah, the rock I'm stepping on.
Yeah, trying to boost confidence. Turns out I just dashed dreams and hopes. Oh man.
But we were struggling to get in on some elk. Sign everywhere, but just cannot been able to find that herd. But we I guess I'll get to the excitement of the trip, because we found one that was wandering the hillside, probably the same one that you spotted that morning, Ben, if I had to guess.
Possibly.
But you got up there earlier than all of us and glassed him up from a good ways. But we I don't know, I'll let Galen maybe tell it a little bit better than I could, as far as us getting in there and actually calling up the bull.
Well, it was pretty cool, because the day before we'd kind of took the morning and cut our way a trail up to the ridge, because it's a hike. It's about 1.5 miles, and you gain, let's see, you're starting at 6,800 feet up to about 8,100 feet. So before you can start hunting. So to do that on foot is exhausting. And so we did that the first day, and then the next day we were like, well, let's go ahead and cut a trail up for the horses. So we spent most of the day doing that. Then the following day, Ben took off up to the ridge, and ahead of us, and then the three of us, Chris, Sam, and I, saddled up horses and headed up. And when we got up to where Ben was, he said, "Hey, I saw an elk go up into the timber up there." And it was middle of the day, getting pretty warm, so I was like, well, I don't want to just go straight in there, you know, if he's bedded down. And a lot of time I found elk, they tend around 1:30 to 3, that range in there. They'll get up, move around a bit. And so we went around to the backside. There was a big area of country I'd been wanting to look at, and we went back there on this hillside and glassed some awesome country. But the wind was just howling up this drainage. Yeah. So we kind of got sick of it sitting on an open hillside with nothing but wind whipping through our ears. So we kind of talked about it and decided to circle up around the ridge and come down on where that we'd seen that elk go in. One reason we went around to that basin is I was looking on onX Hunt app, and where that elk had gone in, there was a saddle to where if he'd followed the same elevation, he'd come out and could have dropped into that backside potentially. So I was thinking, well, if it was the last one of a herd or something. So that's kind of why I went back there first. And then we went back up and over the top. And I gotta say, I think spirits are pretty low across the board. I mean, this is the third day of hunting, and we hadn't even seen anything yet other than what Ben had seen that morning. Hadn't heard any bugles or anything. And so we got up to the top, dropped down just a little bit to where that elk had gone in. And I kind of, I guess I'll let out a bugle. What else? Let out a bugle, and Sam immediately heard a response. I didn't hear it. I was glad he picked it up. So I kept talking
way off in the distance.
Way off. And so we started, I did some cow calling, and I think I bugled a couple more times.
Yeah. And he responded a second time then, and he was considerably closer.
Way closer. And it was game on. Then we're like, wow, this is getting real. And Chris was up the ridge a little bit. He worked his way down. He was about, 30 yards above us or so. And I was tracking the wind, and I was like, okay, I think he's going to come out into this clear cut right below us. Clear cut, it's an old burn where most of the timber's fallen down. And so he, one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, because the sun was shining, and I see his shadow before I actually saw him. And that was pretty wild. And he came out, he's about 70 yards down the hill from us then. And he only bugled two times.
Yeah.
And kept cow calling, and he stopped within range, but there was 2 branches right over him. Sam was at full draw. This is actually the first archery hunt I've ever been a part of, because in Idaho, in the wilderness, there's a couple wilderness areas, the Selway and the Middle Fork zones, that have rifle in the rut in September. And that's what I grew up hunting since I've been about 10 years old, been coming back in here. And so that was the first time I've had a guy with a bow sitting beside me, and I was shaking worse than Sam was.
You were the most excited out of anybody on that
pretty
ridge,
wild.
for sure.
I'm sitting there trying to video and call, and I'm watching Sam, and when he pulled his bow back, I was shaking like a leaf.
Yeah. And that was the one thing that was the most challenging for me, was just trying to get an accurate range on where he was going to be, because with all just the junk that's down in there with the down trees and the limbs and everything, like every range, I'd range the same thing twice, it felt like, and I get 2 very different ranges, like 50 and 67 or something. I'm like, well, which one is it? So I'm trying to figure it out, and then also playing the angle because it's a steep drop. And to your point, as soon as he was broadside, an opportunity where I could draw back and knew how far he was, I had 3 branches coming off a dead tree perfectly covering those vital signs, and that was keeping me from shooting. But
we have video evidence that was the case.
Yeah, not making it up. We got a video to prove it for sure. But it ended up working out because Chris got to pick up the slack where I couldn't, because the bull eventually decided that he had enough, and I'll let y'all continue the story. Y'all tell it better than I do, but I was just the guy with the bow that was trying to slip an arrow in there.
Oh, Sam did it perfect. I mean, he timed it perfect where his head was behind something. He drew back, never startled him or nothing. When he realized he wasn't going to have a shot, he let the bow down after it was behind something, never spooked it. It was pretty cool to watch, really, because I know, talking to buddies that have bow hunted and stuff, that's pretty key, is you have to time everything just right or you'll spook them. Whereas a rifle, once it's to your shoulder, you're pretty much good to go. And so when Sam drew down, relaxed his bow, and I was like, okay. And then I realized he wasn't going to give us another shot. Chris being up the hill, it was, so where we're hunting, just so everybody's clear, it's a rifle unit. We're hunting, it's legal to hunt with rifles in the rut and all that. Well, Sam's, the last 11 years, you've only bow only.
Yep.
Which I got to take my hat off to him, because to come into this country and stay dedicated to that, it was pretty awesome. Because at one point I was like, he didn't actually hear me say it, but I was like, hey, you could take him with my rifle, like he's right there. And you couldn't get an arrow through, but you could have snuck a bullet through. And holding true to that in this kind of country, I was pretty proud of him, I gotta say. And coming that close. And so we talked about it before, early in the hunt, that we'd give Sam first chance with the bow. But being back in here, it's a lot of work to get an elk in here, regardless of if they're here or not.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to pass up an opportunity if you have it.
Right.
So if the opportunity slipped by the bow, we were taking it with a rifle, if at all presented. So that was pre-talked about. So as soon as he turned and started getting fidgety and headed down the hill, Chris was videoing, and I turned to Chris, I said, take him. Anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah, so he just headed down the hill pretty quick, and he was running in between some deadfalls, and I knew I had to get the right opportunity so I didn't just hit one of those dead trees. So I saw up ahead a little bit that there would be a little bit of an opening, so as soon as he hit that opening, I let him have it, hit him, took him down. So
beautiful shot.
And that's your first elk, right?
Yeah, it was my first elk, so it was pretty stinking exciting.
I didn't really realize that, because I know, Ben, I know that you've hunted elk a lot and you got more elk on your wall than you can remember, is what I've gathered from the past few days.
Yeah, I've been but pretty blessed with elk hunting.
But I didn't realize that, Chris, that you were going after your first one as well. So that was awesome, and died in a pretty cool spot, pretty convenient for as far as cutting them up and boning them out. But again, those horses had to shine when it came time to actually getting them out of there. And again, probably one of the most impressive performances I've seen by them was getting in there to pack that meat out. That was pretty crazy, for sure.
So it's like I've always said, growing up hunting on horses, I've been in on a couple instances where I've helped pack elk out for people that haven't been around horses much, and like, oh, I don't think you can get a horse there. And I said, well, can you walk on it standing up without all fours? Said, yeah. I said, well, I'll get a horse there. And I've only packed 2 elk on my back in all the years of hunting, and I've been in on over 20 kills. And every one of them, we've been able to get a horse within 50 to 100 feet of it. And it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
You got John Wayne Jr. over here. Get him through all sorts of crap to get up to the animal.
Yeah.
That's insane.
They're pretty wild animals. It's pretty awesome just seeing, like I say, every time I do this, I'm just blown away by what they'll do. And it's my dad's string of horses that he's worked on between raising them, buying, and bringing them up. This is 22 years of backcountry horses. It's a string that I would take anywhere. We've got 8 of them in here. He's got a couple more at home, but these horses are unbelievable. I mean, they're in a electric fence right behind us. We turn them out twice a day, grab them just by the halter. Super easy to catch, super mellow.
Go anywhere.
Go anywhere.
And you got to put a lot of trust in them too, because the main ride to get into this spot, I mean, you're on grassy slopes that there's no end to it. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to be crawling on my hands and knees trying to get up this just myself. If this horse kicks out, starts going down the hill, I got to get off of it, first of all. And that thing's gone. Because it's hundreds of yards down before who knows what's there. And in all reality, you've got a trail that's sometimes 18 inches wide, and motor right up it. And Christopher had his kick out a couple of times, but that I think is just because it's older. But yeah, I mean, you're right on rock cliffs right next to the river. You're on these hillsides that just have no end, and it's impressive where they'll go. It's a lot of places that you wouldn't think it'd be safe to take them up, but if you stay calm, they stay calm and they just motor right through it.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's impressive for sure. Well, I know we're at the end of our trip and packing out tomorrow, weather dependent, either tomorrow or the following day. But I wanted to ask each of y'all your biggest takeaways and favorite moment from this hunt. Galen?
Honestly, probably my favorite moment was when I let that bugle out and you swung your head around with the biggest grin I've ever seen. You said, I just heard one. And it's kind of crazy because up here with the old burn and stuff, you get wind and you hear the trees creaking and the wind whistling through it. And when he said that, I was like, okay, we're going to play this. And when we heard that second bugle and he was substantially closer, that just, man, my heart rate went through the roof. And I'm like, okay, because I've been feeling bad the whole trip. I mean, it's hunting. That's why it's called hunting, not shooting, is nothing's guaranteed.
Right.
But I drug you out here, and it's so far from, I was actually asking Sam earlier, I'm like, what can I tell people to help them prepare for this? Because it's, to me, I've been doing it all my life. So it's just, this is elk hunting. This is what you do for elk hunting. And so when we started talking about earlier in the year and stuff, I'm like, yeah, we'll pack in on horses, we'll hunt elk. And that's just what you do.
Right.
And so having all the highs and lows of the trip and the altitude, and I mean, you're coming from what's your
like
house?
600 or 700 feet.
Yeah,
like
600
nothing.
or 700 feet to 8,000 feet. I mean, that's huge. I don't care who you are. That's huge. And so dealing with that and just everything going on, and then all accumulating to that moment of that, realizing this is going to happen.
Right. You can move, Chris. I'm sorry. You've been getting the worst end of the smoke here.
I'll trade seats.
You've been getting the worst end of the smoke on this side. I feel bad. I'm sorry, man. I'm over here trying to.
You're great there to leave me.
I was gonna follow you over there.
But yeah, that was pretty epic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, Chris, you're buried in smoke over there.
Yeah.
What if we need to stand or whatever we need to do at this point, it don't matter to me. But what's your favorite moment and biggest takeaway from this trip?
Probably favorite moment's got to be shooting my first elk. I
mean,
something I've wanted to do for a really long time. I've been out hunting elk a lot, and they're not the easiest animal to hunt and get. I mean, a lot of people hunt for a long time before they ever get one.
Yeah.
So to be able to come out here and do that was definitely a huge blessing, and it's awesome to be able to do that. And I think one of my biggest takeaways, like every time I come out and do something like this, being out in this type of an environment where you just got to be more intentional about everything you do, because like Ben was saying earlier, it's like you sprain an ankle, you break a leg, you hit your leg with an axe, anything goes wrong, it's like that's a pretty big deal. And so, and even just like this afternoon, we came up over a ridge and we saw just a massive smoke from a wildfire, and we couldn't tell exactly where it was, but the wind's blowing directly at us, so not knowing where it was and how bad it was, there's just a lot of things that can go wrong out in a place like this. And so I think every time I do this, it's like it really puts perspective on just knowing who's in control of everything. So knowing that God's in control and your life is in his hands and you can trust him with anything. And I think for me, it really just grows my faith a little bit, because when you're out, like Ben was saying, out on those slopes where if the horse kicks out, if it were to slip, which they don't, but if it were to happen, you're probably not going to make it, or you might not make it.
Yeah.
So just knowing that, like I said, God's in control, and just it's a growing experience, and it stretches you, I think. So
Absolutely. Well said. Ben, what about you?
I think my favorite part of the whole thing is just being out and seeing this awesome, world that's around us. So much we get caught up in our everyday life with work and family, and not that, family is bad, but just being able to step back and step away from so many things that are made by man and see more things that are made by God, and it kind of puts it all in perspective. You see this huge country, these massive hills and cliffs, and especially along the river is just really beautiful, and just being around great people, seeing new experiences, being around the horses, that was a lot of fun for me. I mean, I've had a lot of success with elk in the past, but it's always been different. But the more hunting I do, the more I just enjoy the experience and the moment rather than the success or the failure of it, and being around people. I'm looking forward to doing more hunting with my kids as they get older, and I think that's just the thing that's so awesome to me, is just being able to step away, realize that the problems are always going to be there. It's always going to be a different problem, but just being able to step back from it and enjoy what is out here, to me, is what is the awesome part of it. Whether you get an animal or not, that's just the extra icing on the cake. I think my second favorite, part of the whole thing was when Sam, the fireman, tried to kill us all with smoke inhalation by trying to keep the little backpacking stove in the tent lit, and filled the whole thing with smoke. So we had to all open up all the doors to get everything out.
At 2:25 in the morning.
So we didn't die.
That was pretty great.
Yeah.
Irony.
I was just trying to help, just trying to help. Old Texas boy comes in here and smokes out a bunch of Idaho guys. Yeah.
It's pretty great.
What was that thing we said last night or whatever it was? Don't do it wrong one time. That way you don't ever have to do it again.
Yeah. Yep.
But, no, I'm really grateful for the chance to be out here, and thank you for the invite.
Of course.
Really, I appreciate it. It was an awesome experience. It's been, as you all know good and well, it's been challenging for me on a lot of different fronts, for sure. And a lot of stuff I didn't think about, whether that was just gear preparation, the physical toll, or just being this far out and disconnected from family, even that wears on you. And I was looking forward to being unplugged out here, but I never thought about that side of it, and that hit me harder than I realized it would. So very humbling, and I think that's a takeaway, was this country is just, it's insane, and it's beautiful, but then even when that storm's skirting around us or whatever it was doing, and then you got the wildfire on the horizon, it's like, man, things can change real quickly and be hairy. So a lot of respect for this land. And my favorite moment would definitely be the elk kill. I'm super stoked that Chris got his first one. And to Ben's point, it's not about it's not about punching your tag always. It's about the memories that you make and the experiences you have, and valuing those. So very grateful for this week out here with y'all.
And you did have your first elk in your sights.
I did. I had him in my sights. I just needed 3 little branches to go away. Well, Chris is over here dying from smoke, so I'm going to turn off the recording. But thanks for sitting down with me, guys.
Awesome.
Even though we were downwind the whole time.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening to our conversation from Elk Camp. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, sitting down with those guys and getting to briefly reflect on the week. I am going to probably be back with you guys again next week for a more in-depth and detailed reflection on the trip from my standpoint now that I'm down here in Texas. So please be on the lookout for that podcast episode. And then we are also producing a film, a standalone film around this experience and everything. It will be on our YouTube channel as well as probably some other places that you can stream it as well, coming in the weeks and months that follow. So be sure that you guys are following Fall Obsession on social media. That way you get notified when that film is about to drop, because I would love for you guys to be able to see everything that we talked about in this podcast episode. So with that, we're hanging it up. Thank you all for listening, and I will be back with you guys again next week for another Fall Obsession podcast.